Hello faithful viewers, and we're back looking at Transformers. Yes, welcome to the modern re-review of Armada Blurr. So, let's get Incinerator out of the way and have a look at Blurr in all of his glory. So he transforms into a futuristic Earth sports car. Don't know what it's meant to be inspired by precisely. I'm sure there's probably something in there, but I don't know off the top of my head. Blurr's primary colour is this light grey. You've got some darker grey, blue kind of accents on the front there. And then you've got his lighter blue with his hands just sticking out of the front end of the car there and some little extra bits there. You've got nice translucent yellow headlights and a windscreen for kind of like a cockpit area for this sports car. That just does open. There's no seating in there, as you can see. And then you've got his orange fireable missiles, which I will show off in a short moment. You've also got this really nice kind of burn effect going on here, like oil slick almost over him. The speed of the car mixed with the ferocity of the engine fumes have scorched and scarred his paintwork. Really cool effect. Flip and wonder what becomes what? Well, that is pretty obvious for an Armada figure, isn't it? Arms, head, legs, Mrs. Robinson.
I hate you.
No, you don't.
You've got a nice slot there. That's where Incinerator goes. So let's plug in his minicon and we shall thus transform him into his first alternative mode, which is a flying car. There you go. Now, of course, as I demonstrated in the original review, you don't need to actually plug Incinerator in there to get him in that. You can just manually do it. There are springs. Whether you will end up breaking the springs, that's a good question, but considering that I've had this figure since he first came out and that's not happened, I don't think you need to worry far too much. Now, flying car. Ridiculous, isn't it? It absolutely is ridiculous, but it's a cool idea, you know. It's got visible wings and it looks, I suppose, slightly aerodynamic in a fashion. You've got kind of rotors there, I suppose, sculpted in on the rear ends of the tyres, or the back ends of the tyres, I should say. Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot really to discuss there, is it? It's a gimmick, first and foremost, but hey, it's cool when it's there. Does Blurr roll very well? Not really. It's all the robot kibble, that's the problem. It kind of hangs just a bit too low, so it all bumps upon the surface. Yeah, you don't roll that well, unfortunately. What a shame. Looking at Incinerator then, so he transforms into something akin to a Formula 1 car. Bright blue is his primary colour. You've got the darker blue, once again, reappearing on the cockpit windscreen. Orange spoiler right there. Flip him over. His head is visible. I mean, his hands are visible and his legs. Everything's basically visible. Easy transformation. Just roll out the legs like that. Bring that down, separate and rotate out. And there you go. You've got him. Hopefully the camera is focusing on him well enough. He's got a red visor, as you can see there, and he does have a minicon symbol on his chest, and of course the primary connector port is right there on his belly. He's a cute little thing, you know. You've got a sword arm. Kind of a shame that he doesn't actually have two hands, so in a fashion he's got like a shockwave sort of thing going on. Articulation, he can bend at the knee like that. He can rotate his legs independently of one another. The arms can also be independently rotated. It does, you know, there is a pin going all the way through there, so they do move in tandem. But if you do that, you can do that, and you can rip off his arm. Okay, then let's get Blurr transformed into robot mode. So the first thing, if you've got Incinerator, you can plug him in and get him into flight mode, or as I said earlier, you can just do it manually. Get rid of the guns, just there. You can keep them in, but they will inevitably fall out because the pegs for everyone are just so shallow. And then you can come to the legs, bring them down, and thus bring the torso all the way down, and his head will start to poke through the windscreen like that. And then, grabbing the backpack, you want to be folding that back like that. Extend his legs, and then unfurl his toes and heels, just from there. Give him that down, pan the camera up slightly, and then begin by also folding the doors down like that. And then you can separate the front of the car. And then it's a matter of trying to get the forearms down. If you remember the original review, I talked about these little peg things here, his sliders in his shoulders. So bring the forearms forward like that, so they're kind of bent at the elbow, and then pull up on the front ends of the car there. So that slider basically comes down, and then that'll allow you to bring the rest of the forearm down nice and neatly. So let's kind of just do that. It helps as you're kind of doing it mid-transformation, really. So do that. There we go. I got him. Straighten out the arms. And that is Blurr transformed into a bit of a lopsided robot mode. Now, I've always appreciated the overall silhouette of this figure. He does look really cool. He's got a very unique design about him, and he is light years away from his original G1 interpretation. I think this might have been the first Blurr since G1, but don't quite quote me on that because I could be wrong. Anyway, he's got a really nice visor on his head. It's still the translucent yellow, so that means light piping. As you can see there, it lights up semi-decently. It's not, the light bleed is kind of at the front there, so trying to get the right angle is slightly difficult, but he illuminates on the sides of his head as well. And then if you stick it behind, his windscreen can illuminate, but it doesn't really carry over to the robot head. Panning down, he's got a big red Autobot symbol slapped on his chest, some nice little red highlights throughout the rest of the torso, orange kind of biceps with a little bit of orange at the hips, and then red on his shins, a mix of the light blue and the dark blue all over him. Yeah, I remember in the original review, I think I said that the colour palette was just a bit too vomity. There are worse colour palettes to have, I suppose. It kind of works in retrospect with the type of grey that the car is. Whether I completely stand by my original opinion, I'm not entirely sure now, because it has been so many years since I last did that video. Overall, it's a decent look for the robot mode. Now, that said, I do still stand by the opinion of he's got far too much kibble on him, and it is, I think, this way primarily to accommodate the flying car gimmick. So if you want to do a new version of this figure, maybe you can find a way to fold up the backpack a little bit more, just make it a bit more streamlined. There's potential here to make a better figure, and I realise now, I don't know why I've called out Legacy, because Legacy's done. Age of the Primes, I should be saying. Something else to quickly note with Blurr, and I don't really know why this exists, but this crotch piece here is articulated. It's a little bit weird because it can't exactly accommodate a forward kick, as Blurr is incapable of doing that. So yeah, strange. Blurr's got minicon ports all over him, which I didn't cover in vehicle mode. So you've got these ones at the back. That didn't work, but he's got them at the back. Actually, that's it. He doesn't have anything else on the front of him. So yeah, he's not the most decked out guy in the entire toy line, but again, it's primarily because you just shove him up his, or it also could be because the other primary minicon ports are on his fireable weapons. Let's get him out of here. Let's bring Incinerator back. Let's drop Incinerator on the floor. Okay, let's attempt to fire. There we go. After all these years, the spring still holds up. And then to make him hold the guns, plug the circular ports into the grooves that are on his arms. And there we go. I mean, technically they're on his forearms, they're not in his hands, but his hands are sculpted in a way that gives that illusion where he's actually holding his guns. Not the most secure fit in the world. They will get knocked out pretty easily, but at least he can do it. Articulation then. Blurr's head is on a swivel, which can rotate 360 degrees. There's nothing looking up and nothing looking down. His shoulders cannot rotate, so he can't do like a 360 spin with them, but he can move his forearms up all the way if you get those sliders into the correct position. He's actually got a double jointed elbow, so he can do quite a good bend like that, but there's nothing at the wrists, there's nothing at the fingers. There's no waist articulation of any kind, there is no ab crunch of any kind. He can't even forward kick. He can do a okay spread, I suppose, but for his car kibble getting in the way of things. He has an above the knee bend of 90 degrees. It's a very strange place to have a ball joint for that. It should really be down there, but it's not down there because of its transformation and sliding the legs up and down. At the toes, up and down, wiggle waggle, same with the heels, and he has, at that ball joint that I aforementioned, 360 degrees of swivel. So overall articulation does actually leave quite a lot to be desired, but again, he's an Armada figure. what do you expect? Size comparisons then. Here he is with Legacy Armada Hotshot. Here he is with Energon Hotshot. Here he is with Deluxe Bendy Prime. So these were the first two Transformers I ever got, hence why they're together in this. Classic Starscream, who's the next figure getting the re-review treatment. And stalwarts of the reviews, Titanium Man and Mysterio. To transform Blurr back into vehicle mode, let's just get rid of his guns. And then let's bring up his arm. Get it into position. And then, using your thumbs and fingers, begin bringing those shoulder bits down. It helps also if you move his arms out to the front as you're doing this. And we just continue pushing down on them and pulling up on his forearms until you get them roughly into place like that. So, same thing on this. Bending his arms at that angle there to accommodate the sliders and the positioning of all the joints and gappage and all of that. Just try and get it in until you've got those sliders up at their tops. And then just lightly tab all of that together and make sure it is all hoisted up like this. And then we can flatten his torso against the rear of that, or the underside I should say. Put the heels in, fold up his toes, making sure that the heels are just as flat as they can possibly go, so you've got them shoved up all the way. And then shove his legs in. Take the flaps here and rotate them up for the doors. Reattach the front end of the car, even though it doesn't all clip in very well. And then you can take the blasters, plug them into the ports right there, close them up, and there you go. That is more or less Blurr transformed roughly into a solid sports car of the future. So Blurr then, this guy is super nostalgic for me for obvious reasons, but does he hold up? Well, not compared to modern figures, obviously. You know, he's fun in the fact that he's got an interesting gimmick with Incinerator. He looks super cool, but there are still a lot of detractors holding him back. All of that kibble, very, very limited articulation, and light piping, which isn't necessarily the best. So, you know, do I recommend him? Well, on the one hand, yeah, because nostalgia. And he's one of the more interesting Armada figures, and he's got a certain degree of longevity about him because they reused the figure for Cybertron for that version of Blurr, which it was essentially the same figure with a different paint scheme and a different head, and the Cyber Key instead of a Minicon, but otherwise it was the same thing. So yeah, he's got a longevity because of that. But on the other hand, I can't really recommend him with the mindset of what Transformers are capable of nowadays. I suppose he's for you if you're of a particular generation. So anyway, that's been the re-review of Armada Blurr. Thank you everybody so much for stopping by and checking out this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share it around to help out the channel. And until the next time, see you all later.